Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining us today on this webinar with Allianz. My name is Fern and I am part of the student success team at Target Jobs. I'm really excited to be joined by some representatives from Allianz who are going to be talking a bit more about their experience in applying to applications. If you have any questions at all for them, please pop them into the Q&A tab at the top of your screen or into the chat, and they will get round to answering them kind of throughout and at the end of the webinar as well. But for now, I'm going to pass over to Jules, who's going to kick things off.
Brilliant, thank you, Fern. Hi everyone, really happy to host this call. My name's Jules Harrison. I'm the Early Careers Manager here at Allianz, so I look after everything sort of early careers, from work experience all the way through to our grad schemes. Some of our grads have really kindly agreed to join us today and really want to cover, it's not going to be a massive sales pitch about Allianz, although we are a great company to work for. It's more about actually feedback we're getting from candidates looking to apply, that it's very difficult for people to understand what recruiters in companies like ourselves are looking for. So the theme is to sort of hear from behind the recruitment wall. So you're looking at the website of Allianz and other companies and wondering what we're actually looking for. So rather than trying to second guess, we thought it might be useful to jump on a call and actually talk you through some of the things we actually look for as a company like Allianz and others. So we won't do a massive sales pitch about Allianz necessarily, but happy to field any questions if you've got any questions about our schemes or what we do at Allianz, and myself and the grads are happy to answer them, but also happy to kind of generally answer questions and share my opinions. I've worked in early careers for way over 15 years now, so recruiting sort of every single job you can probably imagine. So happy to give a wider, take my Allianz hat off, as it were, and give much wider advice and guidance about everything from CVs, cover letters, all the way through to the dreaded assessment centre group exercises. What we'll do quickly, next slide, please, Holly. We'll just kind of quickly just remind ourselves what we want to cover. So in terms of this, what we look to try and cover by the end of today's call is just a quick behind the scenes insights, discover what recruiters like myself are looking for in candidates, and how you can make a lasting impression in that application process. I'll try and share some valuable tips for success. Storytelling is something we do massively here at Allianz, and I'll try and bring that to life for you, how you can bring storytelling into applying for roles, and hopefully some of the grads here can kind of also bring their own experience to that, both from an internal, how they've heard about it at Allianz, and also what they went through when applying for Allianz, and I'm sure other companies, which I'm sure they'll admit openly on this call. And then also AI and applications, which is a big one we're seeing obviously increase, and how to make the most of Allianz AI in your applications and actually use it in the right way rather than fall into the trap of using it incorrectly and getting the dreaded email saying unfortunately your application is not successful. So that's generally what I want to cover. Holly, if we could go to the next slide, and I'll just quickly introduce myself. So this is to meet our graduates, and I've rather arrogantly put myself in the graduate pool, but clearly not anymore. But I did graduate way back when at the University of Exeter, where I studied law. Studied it quite badly, if I'm honest, but happy to share that and bring that to life a little bit more. What we try and do is actually kind of show that actually we are people. We are a massive global organization, but actually what really makes us tick is our people, and what we recruit is the person rather than what you might expect. So my name's Jules. I've got a wife and 2 children, 2 girls, which test me every day. Fun fact, I grew up in Bath, so I'm a big rugby fan. I'm kind of really into my sports. Love watching films, love comedy, which the grads know, because one of the things we do as part of our training is actually to bring in a comedian and actually make them do stand-up. Well, actually, some of them might not know that yet, so spoiler alert. We always try and make people say a fun fact about themselves. Mine is actually I worked with the James Bond villain when I worked in Homebase in Bath, and the reason I kind of like that is actually it shows that working in retail was actually a big reason as to why I've got the job I have today, and I'm happy to bring that to life as we progress through. And like I said, I've worked in early careers for 15 years, so I can really answer as many questions wider than just Allianz. So happy to answer questions, even if you're applying to someone else. I won't be upset. I'm very happy to be open and honest about what my thoughts are on that. Pass to the next grad, if that's okay, which I think might be Holly. Oh, no, it's Georgina.
Hi everyone, yeah, I'm Georgina. I kind of got into Allianz via doing an internship, so very happy to talk about how I kind of applied for that. My internship, as you can see from the slide, was actually in IT, which was very random. I am definitely not not a whiz at IT. My laptop wouldn't switch on the other day, and I actually had to go to the IT team. That was quite embarrassing. Throughout university, I kind of worked in the care sector, so kind of worked in care homes and the community. So when applying for grad jobs, I was only really looking at finance or tech placements, but still lots of transferable skills there. Also have lots of hobbies outside. Do love all sorts of water sports, climbing, very outdoorsy, and about to move to London office. So I'll have to come up with some more indoor activities, I think. But yeah, that's just a bit more about me. I don't think Tom's with us just yet, so we might need to move on to Holly.
I'm here.
Hello, I'm Holly. I'm on the rotational graduate scheme at Allianz, so that means that we get to explore different parts of the business. I'm currently working in the commercial side, so all insurance to do with like businesses. I studied at the University of Nottingham, and I did geography with business, and that sort of got me passionate about the insurance industry just through how it relates to sustainability and how our risks are becoming more volatile now due to climate change and things like that. And then a little fun fact about me is that I went volunteering for 6 months in Malaysia, Indonesia, and New Zealand, where I taught English and things like that, and worked in a vineyard, which is really cool. So yeah, and I'll pass on to the next grad, who is
Did I hear Tom say he was here? No.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
Shall I go
Would it
back
be
to Tom?
okay?
There we go. Hi, Tom.
Hi, thanks, Holly. Yeah, I'm Tom. I'm on the rotational grad scheme at Allianz. What else did I write in my profile? Last year I was a sports teacher at a school not far away. I'm a bit like Georgina. I was born near the water, so into my like water sports and all of that. And now working in London, I guess I've got to find also other indoor activities to do. Just before joining Allianz, I spent 2 months traveling Vietnam and Indonesia, which was really, really great. And then outside of work, I play rugby part-time, and I forgot I wrote that, but I enjoy cute coffee dates with my friends, apparently. So yeah, that's me. On to the next graduate.
Hi everyone, I'm Aubrey. I was born in Zimbabwe and moved around a few different countries growing up. Currently living in Cape Town, South Africa, but moved over to here for university, and I graduated just last year in mechanical engineering. Yeah, I guess in my application process, I tried to show real intrigue into what the company is about and what they're doing. I know, well, the only reason why I was able to get through the interview stage is because I think Allianz was one of the only companies that allowed me to re-record my answers to some of those recorded questions. But I guess once I was able to attend the assessment center and was given the presentation topic, I really did step up and try to do as much research as possible going into it. And I was really intrigued by what I found. There were so many resources that I could use. So just really try and push yourself to be invested in what the company does stand for, their values, and what it is that they do. And that could help your application stand out, definitely. I was listening to podcasts, I was reading articles they had as well. So just really putting your best foot forward in that regard. Just seeing one of my pictures that I put here on the slide here is me doing the scoops challenge, which is basically just a lot of ice cream that I ate under 10 minutes, and somehow I ended up top of the leaderboard there. Wasn't too mobile afterwards, but yeah, I guess that's my fun fact.
Hi guys, I'm Charlie, and like Aubrey and Holly, I'm a rotational grad. I'm also in commercial insurance in the Birmingham office, and like Jules, I also went to the University of Exeter, and I did sport and exercise science, so not entirely relevant. But my parents have been in insurance for like many years, and I did a placement at an insurance company as well, and I really enjoyed it and wanted to do that more. So when Allianz popped up as an opportunity. I thought I'd apply. And the fun fact about me, it's not really fun, it's actually really painful, but I found out I've got 6 vertebrae in my lower back, and you're meant to have 5. And honestly, it's actually really hurting at the moment. But I will try and sort that out at some point. And I'm also an Arsenal fan, in case there's any Arsenal fans on the call as well.
Brilliant, thanks everyone. And just to kind of throw it out there, this really works as well if it's kind of a Q&A session as we go through. So don't feel like you need to wait to the end to ask questions. Please ask them as they come through, and we'll keep an eye on the Q&A and the chat function and kind of come to them. So grads, if you could also keep an eye on it, that'd be great. I think some people have kind of written some questions and I've replied to a few of them. So and also grads, feel free to chip in yourselves if you think actually I'll need to add something here. So what I wanted to do just kind of is to break down the walls, I guess, in terms of what do companies expect from applications? I look after all of our applications for our early careers schemes. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of tough out there for you guys at the moment. The number of applications you're up against is very high. So what can you actually do? And I always think that there's only certain things that are within your control. And that's kind of what we want to kind of point out in terms of what we look for in those applications and what you can do to kind of help your applications. So that's kind of what we want to do. And what do recruiters actually look for in candidates, and how can you make a lasting impression? The good news is it isn't difficult or things that you need to massively change or be someone else. So we'll go through that a little bit and sort of break down any of those myths and hopefully bring that to life. But I was kind of actually curious at this point. I just wanted to kind of get a bit of a poll going in the chat. So we're Allianz, we're a global company. You may have seen our name around, maybe not know what we do, but just wanted sort of answer in the chat. What do you think we would look for from individuals, or what do you think we're looking for? Just be interesting to see. What would you assume we would look for? So what would you want to sort of see in your applications in order to be successful in your application? To be a people person. Okay, interesting. Great teams to collaborate with. Leadership. Interesting. Okay. Caring about clients, yep. Determined to succeed. Some customer service experience. Problem solver. Confident, interesting, yep. Creative. And grads, I don't know what your, be good to get your insights on this as well. Motivated and self-disciplined to recognize goals. Eager to learn. Resilient. A LinkedIn profile. Any ideas? I feel like some people have already been on our website and looked at our people actions a little bit here, but we'll see. So I guess what I was trying to do here is there's sometimes I've seen sort of the ISE, which is the Institute of Student Employers. There's sometimes a bit of disconnect in terms of what students think business are looking for and what businesses are actually looking for. In actual fact, what a lot of companies are looking for is individuals and uniqueness. So all of those ideas are probably correct. I think what is very important for me to see is that individual coming through in that application form. So what I think a lot of people sometimes do is assume that companies are looking for maybe all of those things you've mentioned or some, and people then trying to change who they are to kind of mirror those or match those. And grads, I don't know if that's it'd be interesting to hear from some of you how you've sort of seen the difference between now being in Allianz versus what you thought Allianz was looking for, and whether that's changed now that you're in. I don't know if anyone wants to kind of bring that to life a little bit.
I think my first interaction with Allianz was you, Jules, because I actually turned up to a virtual insight day. So I guess it was it was more like, I guess I heard directly from you what you were looking for. So maybe I didn't have that same expectation. And I know definitely the values is something that probably we look for, and linking with them. So I guess that's an area where we would like you to link in. But yeah, again, individuality is quite important.
Well, that's a good point there, actually, as a kind of a top hint, actually. It's kind of the more you can interact with the company before applying, the better, and actually understanding the culture, the people. Even a call like this where you can see, actually, do you know what, they are real people. They're all quite different. They've got different interests, although rugby does seem to be a common theme. And that is just a coincidence, by the way, even though we now sponsor at the Twickenham Stadium. Us three did not have anything to do with it. That we are all rugby heads, and kind of we, you know, if you look at the whole grad booklet, there's a whole host of different sort of skills and interests in that. From, you know, I'm still excited about trying to create a grad choir or a grad band, but there's lots of kind of cooking and all kinds of things. So, and actually what's interesting is what's come through from the individuals we recruit is something that they've got a passion for, and their uniqueness, because diversity of thought is very important to companies at the moment. Understanding our customers are very diverse in their thoughts, therefore we need a workforce that matches that diversity of thought and how we work with them. Some of you put in there understanding the customer, and that's really key, and actually working collaboratively with a range of people. So if we recruit just the same people, it'll be very boring, but actually it's quite proven that diversity of thought actually has a direct correlation to profits. So being yourself and showing what you're about and bringing that through in your application is actually what companies are looking for. So don't fall into the trap of, I think this is what the company are looking for, therefore I'm going to write in that, because it won't work. It won't come across as genuine. And part of that storytelling, the best stories tend to be based. I mean, if I go to Netflix, I always tend to go for like true stories. They tend to be like the most powerful stories you watch, and it's because they're based on a truthful story. And it's the same with applications. If you're going to say something in application, it's best to be kind of based around something you're passionate about or truthful, because it will come across much better. And as a recruiter like me, you know, there's a lot of people that will write, I'm a team player, but there's no evidence of that. And actually where the evidence is kind of where their passions and their interests have come through to back that up. So, you know, in terms of sort of that part, you know, our culture, we're less focused on technical skills and more actually on your behavioural skills. But a lot of those we can sort of bring to life and train. So the technical skills, we feel actually, you know, for insurance, we don't expect people to have a lot of insurance background. We will teach people what they need to know about insurance, but what we can't necessarily teach people is how to kind of behave around others, and those more behavioural skills, which a lot of you on the call will have. You won't have the technical skills. So, but Aubrey mentioned it, there's a lot you can do to actually kind of show an interest or a passion for what we do, by sort of research or listening to podcasts and things like that. And I think generally, if you do get excited about something you've read about us as a business, that's maybe something to hone in on and bring out in your application. Because again, if you talk about something you're passionate about, it will come through in your application. Guys, just going to throw the floor out. Anything else that you would add to that, sort of in terms of how to approach a company? You know, just be yourself, or versus if you had any experiences where you maybe felt you weren't being yourself and representing, how well did it go, or did you find actually being yourself in applications a lot easier? I don't know if anyone's got anything to share on that.
I'd echo what you said, to be honest. So it's all good and well trying to say you're a team player and you're a problem solver and these kind of buzzwords that you think we might be looking for. But in my cover letters that I felt to be helpful or found to be helpful was, you say you're this, a problem solver, and then you give evidence based on what you've done in the past. So maybe this university project has demonstrated my problem solving skills, my dissertation project has demonstrated my time management skills, or this group project has demonstrated my ability to work in a team. And don't just say you're this, but give evidence-based evidence as to how you are that. And I felt that actually really helped with me.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, I think what you need to show as well is that you're eager to learn. And while you might not know everything about the industry that you're going into, if you show that you are willing to learn, and it's not necessarily about plugging every buzzword you can think of into your applications, it's like where you could add value, like what specific things have you done that you could add value to the company. And also it's important, what I think I did maybe wrong at the start of my applications is I would really say, oh, I admire your company because, and I'd really like find all the stories. Well, you need that. You also need to equally show yourself off, because your application is about you. So don't try and talk about the company too much. You use the company's values to show how you're going to add value, if you see what I mean. I don't know if that's...
It's a great point, Holly. I mean, I don't need to know how many employees we've got when I read the application.
Yeah.
I mean, if you test me, I'd probably get it wrong, if I'm honest. But I don't need our stats and figures, but I want to know how you've actually got excited about our company, or what it is that you could bring to our company, rather than tell me about Allianz and its global reach and how many, you know, billions it makes. You know, that's great. I mean, that's all there, but actually what I don't know is I don't know about the individual that's applying, and I want to know about the individual. So I think, Ollie, that's exactly right, focusing more on what you can bring to the organization and what you've been excited by, whether it's something about our sustainability. It might be the fact, you know, that you go to Twickenham every year and watch a rugby game, and now it's kind of exciting that this brand that you like is kind of now, you know, it might be the fact that we sponsor the Olympics, you know, and actually a lot of the Olympics coverage had our name on it, or it might be the fact that we sponsor Formula E with our, you know, sustainability credentials, or it might be a whole host of different things that people have kind of resonated with. So, and I think if you find something that you're passionate about, like I said before, it will come across more in your application. Don't choose something that you find really boring, but you think that's what we want to hear about, because it will just come across a little bit more. Aubrey?
I guess it is quite a temptation to, I don't know, conform to what you think the company is expecting of you, because I guess you apply to so many places, and you know, you don't really get too much feedback, and it's just quite discouraging to put in so much effort and not really get the opportunity you're looking for. So I can see why people are tempted to try and go for that, but you know, having now been in this position, I think coming across as yourself is the best way to go forward, because I think the interviews as well are also assessing how well they will interact with you. And if you are putting on a character and you're trying to be someone who you think they want you to be, you're not going to be the person who they end up being around every day in the office. So yeah, really do not overlook being yourself in the application process at all.
Anything else to add from that before we move on? I've seen there's potentially a question come through that.
No, I was just going to add, it's also a great opportunity again to show where you kind of, what makes you stand out. So talking about teamwork, you can talk about kind of, I know for me, I used to run the kayaking club at uni, and so it's kind of bringing those kind of skill sets. It's a good opportunity there.
Brilliant. I think someone sort of put in there sort of as an insurance company, willingness to pay out on insurance instead of ducking behind technical causes. You know, and actually it's something we pride ourselves on. There was the kind of the famous, not famous, I guess, infamous, I guess, of the fire at Luton Airport. I think it was Luton Airport. Georgina, correct me if I'm wrong.
It was, you're right.
Yeah. And actually kind of LV, who was part of Allianz, they were one of the only insurance companies actually to go to the airport and actually meet their customers there and then, and actually deal with that there. And I think it's important what we do in those times, and recognise for those times just as much as the big monetary numbers coming out to the other side. It's actually how we deal with, eventually, making sure that we help people when they most need it, which is what insurance is all about. So yeah, I mean, that's hopefully evident in kind of what we do and the news stories that we put out as well. So
I think also sharing stories, like specifically the Luton one, is quite a nice thing to put in your application, because it shows that you have done that further research and not just gone on the company website. Again.
Perfect. Holly, can we go to the next slide just to kind of... Cool. So this is kind of moving into valuable tips for success. So what I mean by this is, what can we do within the art of storytelling? And I'll try and bring storytelling to life a little bit, and what I mean by that. And again, showcasing your unique skills and experience and find out how to make your application stand out from the crowd. So can anyone sort of guess in the company why I've put all these pictures here? Anyone hazard a guess? Not you grads. See, so there's a selection of things here. Committed to being sustainable. Allianz Stadium, we've increased revenues from 6.4 to 3.23 billion for Allianz Group in the UK. The numbers are always staggering, I always find the numbers. Working with Youth Trust, link between social action and profits potentially. Got Harry Kane there in his Bayern Munich shirt, obviously very famous Allianz Arena, and #1 insurance brand globally. So, I mean, I'm doing good society. Yeah, kind of. I mean, so all of these things are on our website, very easy to find. So research. So in terms of, you know, tips for success, researching each company you apply for and its uniqueness. So if I went to Aviva, obviously a very big competitor in insurance, their website will have very different stories. So although they're very similar in company size, in terms of, insurance company, UK, there's differences between the global reach. The uniqueness in your application is vitally important. Choosing something on this page and talking about it in your application when applying to Allianz really stands out. The Allianz Stadium at the moment is probably the biggest deal that we've done most recently. I think it's kind of the biggest news article that Allianz have done quite recently. If it was back in 2018, 2017, it would be the acquisition of LV. These are all unique things that have happened, and they're very easy to find on our website. And this is the same with any company. If I see an application where people have applied to us, and in my head, if I can take the company name out and put another company's name in and it still makes sense, then it's probably not past that unique test. I'm not actually as cruel as that. I don't actually do that. That's not, but that is kind of the thing you need to be thinking yourself. The trap a lot of people probably fall into, and I can see why, is the sheer amount of applications you possibly need to make. You look in the media, people applying for 100 jobs, have spreadsheets and they're tracking the progress. But there is the danger when you apply to that many to lose sight of that uniqueness. Have you actually put in the unique details needed? Going back to what Aubrey was saying, he's listened to podcasts to understand, what Allianz do compared to other companies. It's very easy to kind of fall into that generic application rather than adding that tailor, that difference. And I think I'll pause there to see if that resonates with any of the grads on the call at the moment, or if that's things you found applying for lots of jobs. I know you only applied to Allianz, but for the sake of the group, let's just pretend you hypothetically did apply for other applications. How did you manage that multiple applying and uniqueness piece, if you did?
I actually kind of didn't. Well, I talked to people in person a lot. I went to quite a few actual job fairs. And so I think I ended up with, there was a job in Germany. So it was a sum up was kind of the company, and I went through the application to do an internship, but because of Brexit at the time going on, they offered me an actual graduate job rather than just the internship once I had finished university. And then another job I got, again, it was a virtual kind of it was a job fair, but because of COVID it had all gone virtually, and then no one else actually turned up to this spot, so I ended up talking directly to the lady kind of in HR and was offered the job directly that way. So I found the more personal you can make it, actually talking to someone, is how I got kind of job applications.
Okay.
Job offers,
but that
sorry.
might not always be
Yeah,
practical,
not
but
always the case.
it's kind of, it's not, I mean, like LinkedIn's a good one, and I think Aubrey and Charlie, I think from memory you were pretty good at that from approaching directly to me. I think Charlie definitely, Aubrey, I think you definitely contacted me picked up the phone and spoke to me quite a lot, which is good. So bringing that to life would be great. So it's trying to apply, and also what else can you do to kind of stand out from the crowd? So Charlie, Aubrey, and obviously Tom and Holly, you can bring that to life a little bit as well, because Holly, I know you did work experience, which I guess would be, and Georgina, not saying you cheated, but you went for the internship, which means that if you do the hard work in the internship rather than the grad piece, Georgina was on an internship that led into a grad offer from us, sitting there in a final year with an offer that wasn't reliant on grades. It was, you've got a job because we really like you. Probably is a nice place to be in your final year.
It was,
so I don't know
yeah,
if any of
it was
you
a great place to be.
I can throw a bit in with regards to the LinkedIn. One of the things I did that seemed to work really well was going on LinkedIn, finding grads from previous years or grads that are currently on the scheme. So I added this lady called Lauren Lenton, who's a grad the year before me, who's in Georgina's cohort. I found out she went to the University of Exeter, which is obviously where I went. So we kind of had that in common. And I just said, have you got any stories? Are you involved in any projects that you'd like to tell me about? And then kind of use that in my application. And I think it also looks quite impressive in terms of when we had the assessment center to say I've added kind of people on LinkedIn and found out more about the company that way. So LinkedIn is a very powerful tool if you use it properly.
I guess from my end, I was just quite tempted to be discouraged by the volume that you have to be applying to, and also discouraged to keep having that uniqueness, keep researching into companies if I was going to receive little to no feedback. And I can really resonate with that if the grads are feeling like this right now, the students right now are feeling like this. But it really is worth it to try and go for it and look for the things that will make you stand out. And in the process, you are learning a lot more about what you'll be getting into. So I think you have nothing to regret by really committing to finding out more. And yeah, I think it was one of those things where I didn't think I'd find interesting until I started listening to a podcast on how to insure self-driving cars. And I was thinking, well, how does that even happen? You know, and that the fact that Allianz were tackling such a nuanced topic, but something very important for the near future. I thought I'd love to be part of a team like this, and that intrigue really drove my passion when I was applying. So yeah, just don't lose heart, I guess, but a very difficult thing to actually keep up with and put into practice.
Thanks, Aubrey.
Yeah, I'll just
Tom?
add.
Tom?
Oh,
Holly,
sorry.
hang on.
No.
It's the horrors of the world. Tom very politely took himself on mute, put his hand up to say something.
Oh
and
no,
then he's ready to-
I'm
We'll
sorry.
let
I
Tom go
didn't
first.
see
We'll
your
come back
hand.
to Holly.
No, I found the application process, because obviously it's overwhelming. There's so many grad schemes to apply for out there. And I was working at the school, so I was applying in like the evenings before work and all that, and it is overwhelming. And I found, without ruining maybe my bit later, talking to people about what they do. I was lucky that family, friends, or friends that I've made in the past knew someone in insurance, and just being bold enough to basically reach out to them, ask them what they do. And off the back of a few of those conversations, got some work experience with them. And then that like really peeled back the curtain, and I saw what is in insurance, what you're going to be doing every day. So I guess that was really useful, just I guess being bold and putting yourself out there. And the best story I can give of that, actually, yesterday when I went to work in the morning, went to the gym before work, so it's like 7 a.m. in the morning, and I come out of Bank Station, and there's a guy in his 20s with a sign on his front and his back saying looking for work experience and jobs in finance. And I thought, wow, that's really bold and really out there. But obviously maybe not be that bold, but talk to people. They like to talk about their careers. They like to talk about what they do. So I think it's just, I guess, going back to one of the values, being brave and speaking to someone about what they do. That really helped me, I think.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. Holly, over to you.
Sorry, Tom. I really did not see that you put your hand up. I didn't mean to be
No,
rude.
it's fine. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the companies will know that you're applying to other companies, so there's no point trying to pretend, I suppose, that you're not. But like Tom said, yeah, like reaching out to people that you might know that can give you some advice can actually be really helpful. One of my friends actually wrote a handwritten letter to apply for a job and sent it via post, and off the back of that got a role which I didn't even cross my mind. But it's about thinking about different ways that you can engage with people and make connections, and like LinkedIn is also a great place.
Yeah, but I think all of these things are great, actually, and I think LinkedIn is a great way to find people, like Charlie said, and like Tom said. Once you've got that, then it helps your application kind of cement it, and it is, like Aubrey's point, it can be quite tough, and you need to have a bit of resilience and hold faith in it. And I think one thing is the definition of sanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So I think if it's not working, maybe kind of stop, take a reflect, and think, right, what can I do to maybe change my application approach? And think about it, are you sending the same application and cover letter to all these companies? And if so, maybe have a think about how you can kind of personalize it. I mean, for me, I probably think the best way is to have a base template that covers the who am I story. So moving into the storytelling, everyone has got their story. I'm Jules, I'm from Bath, I've got 2 kids. I mean, where I am today, there's a story to that. How I've ended up being the grad manager for Allianz UK. There's a story of how I got there, and it's kind of squiggly, but it's got there, and it's kind of something I can kind of say, if I were to ever apply for a job outside, I would use my story to kind of be my starter. It's what we call an elevator pitch. So what we do within Allianz for our kind of senior management training, we kind of have Oliver Beta, who's like the top person within Allianz Global. If you were in an elevator for sort of 2-3 floors, how would you kind of do your elevator pitch? Like, who am I story? Like, how would you introduce, hi, I'm Jules, I'm this person. How would you do that within that short amount of time? And that's kind of what you're looking to do in an application. Hi, I'm this person, and this is what I'm about. And once you've done that, that's the same for any role. So there's elements you can build up that are the same, but it's how you add the uniqueness on top. So you can kind of have a steady format, but you need to unique it on top. So it's not like writing from scratch every time, but it's making sure that it's bespoke enough to each one. And it's amazing, actually, that Control F, find Allianz, replace it with Aviva, or replace it, doesn't always work. The amount of applications I do get with the wrong company name on still, where people have made an error, or their cover letter has, I really want to be a management consultant because X, Y, and Z. We're not a consultancy. So there are mistakes you can make if you don't apply that kind of rule to it. It's harder. But I think if you've got particular companies you really want to work for, I think it's worth it to put that extra little bit of effort in. You can make things easier by kind of trying to have conversations. Joining calls like this is kind of the first step to kind of finding out more. Every company like us has kind of, podcasts and huge amount of information. Like we said, listen to podcasts, fell into a bit of a rabbit hole of kind of driverless vehicles. And then, you fall into the great thing about doing the research. Actually, you might find things that you didn't even expect, and actually love the company even more, love the brand, which I think is pretty important. So I'm a big kind of Allianz fan. I love working at Allianz. That's not the same for everyone necessarily, but there'll be companies out there that resonate with yourself, and actually part of that research will mean you can kind of solidify that head as to kind of, this is the company I really enjoy because of X, Y, and Z. So it's a kind of two-way process, and then it should flow through your application process as well if you've done that. Perfect. Come to a little bit of time, Holly. Actually, can we skip just to check the next slide? Just kind of remind myself what we said. AI, yes, big one. So I won't spend too long on this, but please use AI as a tool, not as you. And what I mean by that is I'm seeing increasingly a number of applications that are written like they're written from someone from Bridgerton. The way that it speaks is very kind of very formal, very eloquent, very Shakespearean in how they're written. I would love to work for your esteemed and honourable company. That's great, but it doesn't really sound like an individual, and we are desperate to see that unique person. So AI is a great tool. We're not a company that if you automatically get booted out if you use AI. Well, if you generally write like that, then great, and it will come across. So someone's challenging me on that, saying if you write like that, then that's fine. But that should come across. But it doesn't really land as well. And also, when 10 are written very the same, it is quite obvious when it's written by AI rather than an individual. And like I said, and I was just about to say, Sebastian, I'm not going to rule someone out necessarily if it's saying the right things, but it does make me kind of a little bit like, oh, I'm not seeing the individual. So if you do write like that, brilliant, fantastic. But make sure that your individuality has come across. And if you've put in things like, I really like the fact Allianz have done X, Y, and Z. I was really interested when I spoke to this person. AI doesn't know that, so you can still make it sound like a person rather than AI. The irony is, I guess, for a lot of companies, that we are all embracing AI as the future. We work, all the grads kind of test to that AI is very much a big thing within our business. We're looking ahead to it. So I won't rule people out for use of AI because it's what we're looking for. But you need to understand what you're writing. You need to understand your application. So AI can tell you all the great things, the challenges that are going on in the insurance industry within the second. It can't tell you how to understand it. And when you get through to the interview process and they say, look, what are the biggest challenges that Allianz are facing in the next 5-10 years? You can say what AI has told you, but do you actually understand it? And that's the difference between a good interview and a bad interview. A bad interview, you can kind of repeat what AI has told you, but a really good interview will actually understand the commercials behind it and what does that actually mean for us as a company. So my biggest thing around AI is just make sure that you're using it as a tool in your application processes, not as you. Handing over to the grads, anything to kind of add into that, or anything if you fall into the trap of I just have a question about kind of uniqueness.
Tom has it.
Tom, you go.
Yeah, Jules, I guess there's a question from Hassan in the Q&A. around AI.
Oh,
Does Allianz use AI in filtering candidates? Don't know if I'm going to push that over to you.
We don't actually. We don't. So it might come in. I mean, I'm not saying never. The advance of technology. I do have some slight issues with kind of AI in the recruitment process, in the sense that I believe that, if you're going to see someone's uniqueness, then it needs to be a kind of a person. But a lot of companies are facing, 5,000, 10,000 applications per role. And the resource teams will probably look at ways of using AI to kind of do that. So that's why I would never rule someone out from use of AI, but I just stress that make sure that you're personalizing it and making it kind of use it as a tool, not as a definitive answer. Because I think if a lot of people kind of used AI to kind of apply to Allianz, for example, you'll end up with a lot of repetition. We don't currently use AI. Well, correction, we do use it in some tools, like with our video interview, there is transcripts and there is a summary that they do. So AI is used to summarize what people say in the transcript, but that's not a pass fail. That's a kind of, helping people to understand. And the way that's great from a recruiter's point of view is you might stumble a little bit in the first bit, but nervous in your interview, it summarizes what you said. So actually it helps aid the recruiter to really understand what the individual said. So we use it as AI to help the resourcing team and the recruiters understand the candidate better rather than a process out. Hopefully that brings it to life a little bit. But I'm not saying that there aren't companies out there that aren't using it. There are some technologies that will listen to tone of voice, facial expressions, and things like that. Personally, I don't think that's maybe the way forward. I think, but there are ways to kind of summarize applications and things like that potentially that could be a useful tool when looking at those.
Yeah, I'd say, sorry, Jules.
Go for it.
I'd say never give one of some of these AI tools a blank canvas, because it just won't be you at the end of the day. You just meant to do your own research, have your own drafts, and then use AI to help you present that in a way that's more understandable, more readable. Just really prioritize doing your own research and making sure that you understand it yourself, and it's not just AI speaking for you. So I guess the best use of it will only be in the final stages, where you're just polishing things up, but not really to give you more inspiration or generate more ideas, because it's probably best if it does truly come from you.
Thanks, Aubrey. Anyone else want to add anything? There's a question actually that's come through. How do you present us in a unique way? Is it through the resume or CV, cover letter? And someone's asked about the application process. I can cover those. So interestingly, I think CV, cover letter, just be really careful with both. A, to the point about not creating a CV that you for every application. Because if you've got a cover, got a statement at the top saying, look, I really want to be X or Y profession, I really want to be marketing or HR, and then you drop it into a company that's not an HR or marketing role, then instantly it could be a no. So just be really careful. If it's in the same principle, you might have to have a unique cover letter and CV for the applications you're making, but also a layer above that as well. Make sure they actually want a CV and cover letter before you go through the effort of doing them. A lot of companies now, and grads, feel free to chip in, their application tracking system, so where you apply, pretty much asks for your CV anyway. So worst thing you want to do is spend ages doing a cover letter and then finding out they're not even asking for it. So if they need it, they will probably clearly say we'd like a cover letter, CV as part of the application process. A lot of companies now, their system will ask you for the information they require, including motivational questions. And I'd probably say that when you go into an application, don't rush it. Make sure you've got plenty of time, understand when the deadline dates are and that sort of thing, and find out what questions they're going to ask you. Most of them that you save and then continue. So, we very much asks why Allianz, why the role, and tell us more about yourself, for example. It's that we'd look at more than if someone attached a CV or cover letter, because the questions that people are asking are the ones that they want to know. So through to your point about how do you make the standard unique, make sure you understand what people are asking for in those applications in their systems, because I think that will push through. And just quickly, our application process, and it's not too dissimilar from others, online application form where you can attach a CV if you want, but you don't need to. But online application form, then there will be behavioural tests, and then it moves. So that's kind of just more kind of what would you do in this situation? So situational judgment test type thing, rather than, we don't do numerical inductive. We really think very carefully about if we are going to do tests that they are relevant for the role. So in the past, we have been guilty of making everyone do a numerical test when we don't need them to have done that. So we've removed them, and we're only putting testing in if we think it adds to the development. And why we do the ones we've chosen or will do is because from a development point of view, those individuals can carry that through to their kind of role, and it can help them understand that individual and help them develop them in their role. Then we do a video interview process and then assessment center. So it's kind of fairly quick and straightforward, and we try and keep people updated as we go through. So not that groundbreaking. It's a lot of companies do the same sort of process in this space. Grads, anything to add from any of that?
Just to say, Allianz lets you re-record your video interview. So if you're anything like me and absolutely botch it first time, then you do have a chance to re-record. I hope it's still the same.
Yeah, that was the same with me, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think
It's
it let me
different.
pre-record, and I think I moaned about that a lot to Jules once I did have the job, did actually get the job. So it's nice that people can now re-record.
Yeah, it's not always available, and not all systems have it, but we do let people like retake the video interview so that they can give we want to hear people's best answers, not their first answer. Sorry, Holly.
I feel like I'll never get used to like a video interview where you're just talking to yourself and all you can see is yourself, and it's so off-putting because you like adjust. It's not a conversation. It is a bit weird, so it's adjusting to that. But being able to do it again means that you can overcome that a bit more.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I hear it a lot. And I guess my challenge is a lot of people say, "Oh, I'd much rather have an interview in person." Well, that is kind of true, but it's not practical. So I think sometimes you can need to adjust to what's out there now. And a video interview platform, I think, is probably used by a majority of recruiters. The one we use, and many of us have lots of practice options. I mean, even if you kind of record yourself on your phone, that is effectively a practice of doing a video interview. So I think getting used to it, that weirdness about it. But there's lots of positives, and I think it's kind of, don't just focus on the negatives when it comes to these things, because in a face-to-face interview, you can't post all your answers on the wall behind the person's head. I think that's pretty much frowned on if you're going to put all your answers behind their head and they're in their office or on the wall you're in. Whereas a video interview, you are actually kind of in your home comfort where you do have your resources around you. So there are pros and cons. So I guess it's kind of understanding the pros as well as the cons, and just making sure you practice enough that you're used to it. And if you are nervous, try and reach out to the recruiter, and I just make sure it's kind of, just I'll reach out to the recruiter and they can probably help you through it. Because if there's any reasonable adjustments, more than happy to do those sort of things as well. Lots of interviews, including Allianz, say they want penultimate year students. Is that requirement suggestion? Cool, I can come on to that. International students, yeah. So 2 international students, right. So start with the internships, penultimate year students. The reason we say it is because our internship programs, as Georgina will testify, rolls into our following year graduate program. If we do a first year internship, we've got to keep that candidate warm for 2-3 years before they would effectively join us. So that's why we say penultimate year student. And that penultimate means you could go traveling for a year, you could do a master's. So it doesn't mean a penultimate of your bachelor's degree. It means penultimate year means you're a year away from starting with us. I wouldn't say you can't apply for your first year student, and if your application is absolutely amazing, probably would consider it. But the reason most companies say penultimate year student is that keep warm. We are using our internships. If I hold my hands up, we use our internship program to fill our graduate programs. So therefore, first year students are slightly too far away from that graduate intake. We don't take on big numbers. We take on sort of 10 sort of internship students to look to kind of fill our future talent pipeline. So that's the only reason, really. I wouldn't let that discourage you from applying, but if you do kind of, bend the rules, just make sure application is one that I can't really sort of say no to. Can international students pursuing post-grad program apply? I assume that means post-study work visa, I think. I'm reading that wrong. Sorry, Manfred, if I'm reading that wrong, please correct me. So can international students pursuing post-grad program apply? I'm reading that as kind of a postgrad visa. The answer is yes. So if you're eligible to work in the UK after your studies, then yes, we can consider you. So our postgraduates eligible for the internships. So the answer to that is I mean, I'm just trying to think. So if you're in your penultimate year of study, so if you're already in your last year of study, it's not that you're not eligible to apply, but I would want to understand, you know, what you're doing in the following year to not just apply directly to a grad program. I appreciate a lot of people, you might be thinking, well, I'd want to do the internship to see what it's like before I start with the company. That's kind of at odds as where I'm at, where I'm using it as a kind of, whilst you're in penultimate year, to flow into the grad program. You know, if you really want to work for us, you'd be applying for a graduate program. If you're in your last year of study, you wouldn't be applying for an internship. But that's just the way we view it. Others might see it differently for different companies. Yeah, Charlie, exactly that. You might be able to find other opportunities or different things to do to kind of cover that base. Does not having any work experience significantly hinder your opportunities in the recruitment stage? No, I mean, I think for me, it's the passion and motivation to want to work for us. I think what work experience does, and any work experience, like I said, I worked at Homebase, and I'll let the others kind of give ideas of what, but we are very much a customer-centric company. Customer service experience when retail, working, you know, waitresses, waiters in hospitality, all of these things give really good experiences that you can bring to life in your application. Guys, anything you want to bring to life in terms of that kind of prior work experience and little things that you've done that aren't finance related that actually kind of helped you in today's job now you're in, you found?
I think I mentioned earlier, I kind of was a carer, and especially in the community. I'm currently doing a piece on vulnerable customers, and I've very much worked with very vulnerable people in society. So I think that's always kind of good. Also, running the kayaking club at uni, I learnt so many skills from that, from kind of planning events. Jules and I are currently planning an event at the moment, kind of past experience from that. Also working weddings. Yeah, I think a part-time job is very important, and being able to just working with the public, they're quite unpredictable. So yeah, the more different experience you have, I think the better.
Yeah, I agree, but it doesn't have to be particular types that we look for. So, Tom.
Yeah, similar to Georgina, working at school meant that I could basically, when Jules asked me how do I show the values at the school, there's so many scenarios that happened for all the values, be brave, with heart, etc. And it was nothing to do with finance. There was just so many good opportunities to give examples when we go back to the examples when answering questions. Yeah, that was mine.
On Tom's point as well, I don't know if people have heard of the STAR technique. Is it situation, task, action, result? So you're, like Tom said, I worked in a bar, but you have loads of like things like problem solving, teamwork, all this, and then you'd come up with the STAR technique. So a situation, like it was a busy night at the bar, task, we had to serve all the customers, action, and you work through that. And if you can have like 10 examples for these soft skills that you can then reel off quite naturally in an interview, it looks pretty good as well, in my experience, to Tom's point.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And actually, you know, it's not cheating to prepare these in advance. Your best examples will be now. I mean, I think, I'm conscious we're kind of running over time now, but I always say to the grads and anyone doing the interview technique, when you're thinking of those STAR examples, don't start off by thinking of those examples of team building. Just think of things you're really proud of again, and things you're really excited about, because there will naturally be really good examples of those. I think we've covered actually practical tips we've gone through, Holly, so it's good, fine. But it's yeah, so for me, it's like start off with things you're really proud of and really excited about, all those things that you've kind of done that you think, do you know what, I've done a really good job there. Then apply, okay, what is it a good example? Is it a good example of teamwork? Is it a good example of problem solving, or whatever it might be? So I think, Tom, we've had a few questions come through. Thanks, Charlie. You've kind of filtered them, I think, or been answering them, which has been really super useful. So applications are open now. So if you go onto Target Jobs profile for Allianz or go onto our allianz.co.uk website, you'll see that there are a number of vacancies open for our graduate schemes, internships and placement years. Placement years can be kind of any length of time over the 12 months. So whether it's 3, 6, 12, that's absolutely fine. Just let us know. Deadline for applications, it says on the app, they're all kind of different actually. So when you look at the job, it will kind of say when the application deadline is. Most of them, I think, are kind of across the next couple of months. So none of them stretch past March, really. So I think, you know, we are open now. We're open sort of earlier in January. So we're open for a couple of months for applications. So get your applications in sooner rather than later. And that's for our 2025 programs.
Can I just say, not just for Allianz, but in terms of job applications, they may have a deadline, but as soon as they've got the right numbers, they often close them. So I think the sooner the better, with certainly with other companies.
Yeah, some companies do recruit as they go. So we're screening applications, put them through and run assessment centres. So you're absolutely right, Georgina. It's a very good point to call out that some people might have filled the roles even though they're still open. So just make sure you've got a good enough application and apply when you're ready to. Don't wait until the deadline date. That's a very good point. Lynn, I think we covered kind of sponsoring international students. Yes, I think if you're able to kind of, if you're eligible to work at the date of your start, so you don't need to have a visa when you apply, but your visa needs to be in place for when you're able to start. So, so once you're made an offer, your visa needs to be in place then. But yes, we are able to sponsor based on, but obviously based on the parameters of that visa, which may lead to sponsorship after that. So in terms of full sponsorship, that's something we probably do kind of when people kind of in the organisation to help them sponsor on that perspective. But we are able to. It gets a little bit, it's a per individual kind of basis because it's there's a lot of costs involved in kind of sponsorship and so forth, and kind of rules we need to apply to. But to take people on from a visa perspective, relatively simple because their visa tells us, you know, how long we can recruit them for and that sort of thing. Sponsorship, there is a lot more kind of rules around it that we need to apply, and we need to look at the individual rules around that, or what the government rules are at the same, because they might change. You never know. Yeah, more than happy to post this on LinkedIn. I don't have any issues. I'll let the grads say if they do or don't. Again, Lynn, going back to the kind of the sponsorship, I think it will come down to the offer stage as to whether we can kind of make that decision. It's not a blanket yes or blanket no. It's kind of, we'd look to speak to the individual at offer stage and see what we could do at that stage. In principle, yes would be the answer. We are able to, but it comes down to whole things that we can't sort of blanket say yes we can at this point. And government rules might change by the time, you know, we're looking at kind of people starting in September later this year. Things might change quite dramatically by then. Cool. Apologies we've overrun, but hopefully you found that useful. Feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. Happy to answer any questions that have come up. And if there's anything else, please do reach out to us via LinkedIn or other things. Look forward to seeing applications coming through. Grads, anything else you want to kind of close off with? Appreciate we kind of
I'd say just don't give up would be the number one bit of advice. I'm sure all the grads on this call will agree. When you get rejections, it gets a bit disheartening. So don't give up. There's plenty of grad schemes out there. Definitely apply to Allianz, but there are more out there. Just keep on going. Don't give up, and something will happen.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good message to end on, I think, Charlie.
And I do love Allianz. I know it's not an Allianz sales pitch, but just from genuine, really, it's a lovely company to work for. So would recommend applying.
Amazing. I just wanted to jump on really quickly and just say a huge thank you to all of our team at Allianz for joining today and giving such a really good insight into kind of applications, how best to kind of put your best foot forward for them, and just kind of being that friendly face to give you that advice as well. So thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you joining. And thank you everyone for joining as well and asking all these really great questions. Be sure to kind of do your research, practice where you can, and keep applying, put yourself out there. But I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much as well for joining.
Brilliant. Thanks so much. Good luck, guys.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.